Hey, Randy here. Shall we make a game? And yeah, last time we kind of started implementing options and choices and then went, this is kind of hard. So, one of the things I really need to think about here is, because I'm looking at building this off the dialogue system. And the reason for doing that is that it means that you can have a dialog box with some options on the bottom. However, quite often you'll have a dialog box with no options. So what I have been considering is when you're creating a dialog box, maybe I should be passing in a callback then. And if you give one, it makes you an empty dialog box with a single option. And then you can append more options later on. I did also, give me a second here. I had this mock-up and I'm reconsidering it slightly. Like what if instead I did this? So that would just be neater. That would like just make the UI a bit tidier. The other thing to consider though is the width. Not entirely sure I'm going to handle this yet because at the moment we're sizing the. Let me just uncrash the game. We're sizing the width of the dialog box off the text, and of course the options could actually be different widths, so they might actually dictate a different width text box. So my thought on this is it might actually make more sense to resize the dialog box. Oh, so re-render it every time you add an option. That would be a bit wasteful, as it means that you'd be re-rendering everything every time you put in another line, but probably work. Yeah. Oh yeah, I had to click to get the next prompt. I forgot about that. Right, so let me just size this a bit more rationally. And start some background music. You guys can't hear it, it's just so that I don't mumble. Oh, that's very loud. And see, this is where I got to and I just went, lol, what's a problem for tomorrow me? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna put a callback in here. Yeah, okay. And I'm gonna need a type for the callback. It's called when an option is selected. Ah! That component ID callback, unlikely to be particularly useful, but it might be. Right, yeah, let's put a callback here. And so the parameter here. Right, and let's add a new parameter to the component create. With null, the first row of the dialog is not an option. Otherwise, the callback to execute when the first row is selected. There we go. That's nice and simple. Right, and what this means is actually. Oh, hang on. It's not. It means we're not just adding an option. We could actually use this to add things that aren't options, such as if we had like a heading or something. Ah, not massive brain, but slightly bigger brain. This could be very useful later on. And because of how the font system works, if I wanted to use a different font, I just could and it would just work. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Ah, that'd be neat. In fact, I'm going to remove the functionality to set an initial line at all. And I'm going to make it so you always have to append it afterwards. That is going to be a little kludgy and awkward, but it means we can also get rid of the speaker name argument because... hang on. Yeah, we can get rid of the speaker name argument and make it so that you use the font system to pass in the title then, and then... it's all making sense. This also means we'll work around this issue where sometimes the speaker name is too long because we'll have a row for it. Okay, so we're really generalizing this now. Rather than a dialogue being like a special thing that has a single title and a single body text, it's a list of rows. It's almost like a Bootstrap list group component. Yeah, so basically it's like kind of like a box of items separated by lines. And you can do special things with them if you want. Like I think you can make them like buttons and links and stuff. But it's a box with some lines on it. So when run will be selected. Otherwise, call back to execute when the option is selected. And we can make this a... Yeah, it's no longer an option specific thing. It could be used for all sorts of things. Okay. Will that fit that? Nope. Okay. We can get rid of the speaker name. Get rid of that. That's no longer true. And this now applies down here, so we're going to be expanding the box out, and it's possible we'd end up with something that no longer fits. All right, that's simple enough. What's next? I guess I'm thinking about this. Would each row of the dialogue be its own component? And the reason I ask that is that, well, the reason I ask that is that they're all individually clickable, they're all individually drawable. Probably simplify things a lot to have them all. Yeah, I'm going to do that. This is a complete rewrite of the dialogue component. It'll probably take more than we have today, but it'll make a lot more sense. It'd be a lot more scalable and usable in future parts of the project. Okay, so I'm actually making a directory for this because we're kind of like building sort of like a UI component. No, actually, I'm not. Yeah, let's take dialogue component and rename it to menu component, because that's now what it is. It's more of like a menu component. And actually, list component. It's a list, isn't it? 'Cause it could be a list of text, or it could be a list of buttons, or a mix of the two. So we're now going to have a row item component. That's it. Yeah. Hopefully I didn't just overcomplicate everything. We'll find out. I mean, I could technically have like separate row components for like different components for like headers and stuff like that, but they're all going to work very similarly. They all display a single row of text. Well, they all display text. They might have some slight appearance differences, and some of them are clickable, some of them are not, but they feel like things you'd mix and match rather than things that you necessarily like make, sort of hard-coded. Yeah, so let's go into here, let's rename this. Everything in here is about to be renamed. Let's rename everything that's a dialogue into a list. Now, one of the nice things about building a reusable component like this is it means that we can kind of accelerate development a bit later on, because we'll have kind of like a short list of, well, we'll have kind of like a component we can use almost anywhere for any purpose, such as in like the main menu and stuff like that. But also, from a player's perspective, they'll have a single sort of UI construct to kind of learn and use. Okay, that's no longer applicable. We can get rid of that, that's no longer true. There's no mesh now. What was that all about? And you know, I'm going to get rid of this location as well, because you could use these in 2D. Just thinking about this, does this make sense? I think it does, yes. Man, I'm completely throwing everything out I've done here. Okay. If I go to the image header, what do they call like the position in here? Okay, just top rows and yeah, top rows. What do they? Ah, I've lost it. Yeah, the number of pixel rows between the top of the image and the top of the rectangle. So let's take that and let's just slightly change. Number of pixel rows between the top of the video buffer and the top of the list. And we do the same for columns. So yeah, one of the things about how this is kind of working now is, one of the things that is slightly complicated is that everything's built off this component system, and it's kind of a bit unclear exactly what is appropriate to be in the component system, what isn't. But it seems to be that anything that I kind of want to be deleted, possibly when an object is deleted, is kind of what's going in there, I suppose. So we've got top rows. Try to get his ideas out quickly, and it just means you kind of like make more stumbles. He's typing. Okay, maybe we don't have a separate file for items, given they're so kind of like tightly bound to the idea of a list. They're not kind of like something you can make separately. But there's a new item using the text. Okay, yep. Is there no free items? Let's just search for option. Okay. We can also get rid of these. It's actually no longer the list component. I'm going to have a separate image per item. So yeah, I think that works. The image overlay component, it means it'll also be changing this, so it takes in like that same top and left, so that you can do whatever you want pretty much. And rather than being an image overlay component, because you know that kind of implies it's in 3D space, it's just an image component now. Okay. And we're just going to have a single update method rather than separate location and whatever, because now the offset is being removed and replaced with this like just raw position. Yeah, this kind of makes more sense. So one of the things that I've kind of like not quite missed out on, but like it's definitely an opportunity, well, sort of like a potential design opportunity, is that Unity for each entity has like a single transform, right? And that means that, say, in their entity component system, you don't need to tell a mesh component where to go, because it goes, well, I'm attached to this entity, therefore I inherit its position. I've not done that. And I'm not entirely sure if that was the right call. I'll tell you what I'm going to find out, and let's keep building things, I guess. So let's go grab the other parameters. And let's eliminate every instance of the word overlay, as it's no longer an overlay. Let's make it so you can have a few more of them. So let's say we can have 30, I don't know. Let's go 32, just be a power of 2. Not that really helps us at all, but it makes me feel nice. And we're going to copy these to here. Yeah, keep making changes. This looks a bit kind of sporadic, but like when you're kind of like designing something on the fly, it always looks a bit sporadic just because, you know, you're kind of like thinking, well, what if I change that? What if I change that? What if I change that? Ah, that means I can change that. Okay. Anything else I can break while I'm here? So, yeah. Any more? Okay, we've got more instances of the word overlay. Okay, every instance of the word overlay in here is going. Every single one of them. We can get rid of the locations, don't need those anymore. Rename this to top rows and left columns. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Again, top rows, left columns. Prefer not to use find replace because I've been stung by it enough times. Don't need locations anymore, they can go. Oh, this cleans up so much of the code base doing this. Man, all this work and now none of this is necessary anymore. Fantastic. Throwing things away is important, it's good. And if we ever find out we shouldn't have thrown it away, well, we have a full timeline right here. Well, with a full timeline right here, we can undo anything we want to do once we've realized it was a mistake. Let's keep deleting things we no longer want. The type function can go. Oh, but it really is a nice thing to do. Get up in the morning and just delete a bunch of code you spent hours writing. Okay, we can get rid of this, all this location nonsense. It can all go. All this can just get out of here. We need to keep the iterator, but then basically nothing else. All right, that should get us out of the danger zone. I wonder if you could... just thinking about it, I could actually make it so that the image component actually has click detection in it. So if you click... Because I was wondering how I was actually going to handle this, where I was going to have some stuff specifically in like the dialog component to handle clicking on it. But if the image components know where they are, and they know you've clicked, I could actually put the callback in there. And the list component would literally just be like a helper component for image components. That would be nice. That'd be very nice. Okay, any more problems in here to fix? Okay, I've got some bits here I deleted overlay, but not the underscore following it. I'd like to see an overscore. That'd be a good addition to the Unicode spec if it isn't there already. Okay, wrecked everything, let's move on. So we can... Okay, this is good. Is there any more instances of dialogue in here? Yes, let's get rid of them. And then we've got this component callback. I think that'll probably do. Well, actually, no. I think I'm actually going to put the callback in here, like I was saying. So if I grab this over here, and yeah, I'll put it here. Callback is called when an image component is selected. The ID of the component, which has been selected, and it's now an image component. I guess that'll do. I'm not going to make it so you can edit that callback once you've kind of created one of these, because I can't really think of a use case for that. I can think of a use case for, say, like yeah, repositioning it and changing the texture on it, but like I feel like it would be a whole new button if you were going to change what it did. Or maybe the callback should be checking some state rather than replacing the callback. I don't know though. We'll see. That may be cool for this one day. The callback to executes when the image component is selected, or null. Null is acceptable. Okay. And we're just going to add a thing in here where we can put that away. Don't need to initialize this array, can leave it completely uninitialized. Okay. To do allow selection, because at the moment we're actually recording the callback, but then we're doing nothing with it. Oh yeah, I also need to shuffle it down when we resize this array. Easy. Okay. We can get rid of that as that's... maybe yeah, I'll leave these in here because I think these are actually kind of helpful, you know, having kind of like these kind of helpers that just provide global defaults. They're kind of useful, I guess. Okay, so component list text font, title font. I think I used the light font from that, didn't I? And I can probably import the... Did I not import the font here? Oh, I think I must have deleted it in these recent changes. Yeah, I did. At some point, I'm probably going to make a UI subdirectory and start organizing things, put things like the pointer into it and things like that. Because they're all related at this point. Yep, so this component, add item, and it's going to return the ID of the created image component, because it's always going to be an image component. Free items, image components. Appends a new items. No, a new item. And this items is no longer per list component. It's going to be shared across all of them. So let's increase this to say 8 because we might have like multiple menus stacked up. Let's increase the number of items to say 64 because again we could have a lot of them. They're going to be much smaller in these dialogues. So I'm thinking that you're never going to have one of these item components be taller than, say... How tall's that font? It's pretty small, isn't it? It is 7 pixels, so I'm thinking... Let's go make it about 12 and you include like paddings and borders and stuff. It's probably enough to say that it can only go up to 12 multiplied by, say, 3 or 4. So let's go 64. That's going to be enough. And the width is going to be the same, though, because they can be quite wide. They can, go quite a way across the screen. That could bite me later, but we'll find out. Okay. Component create, add item. This component, add item. Okay. And I'm just going to bring in the image component into here because we're going to start using some bits. Oh, what? Oh, actually, that reminds me. For some reason, the Visual Studio Code, like C integration, keeps doing this, and I don't know why. I have no idea what that's supposed to be. So, image component. Okay, we got it. And then when null, the item cannot be selected. Otherwise, a callback to execute when the item is selected. Okay. Okay, that looks good to me. And oh, sorry. And we need the ability to move a dialog once we've created it. Also, if we could get the width and height, that would be good too. You know, actually, you know what would make a lot more sense? If I can set the position and also the alignment. So I think in the font, I think I put like horizontal alignment in here. So I'm actually going to remove these and move these into the wrong file. Man, we are just destroying everything today. We are just moving everything. Nothing is safe. Yeah, let's make a new file for that. And we're going to do the same thing down here for vertical alignment, make a new file for it. You'll probably need both, but given the separate types, I'll make their own files. I've just done this the wrong way around, haven't I? Put vertical first and whatever. Put the wrong guards around them. What am I doing? Okay, so this is vertical alignment, so we're just going to trash all of this. And then we're going to take this, trash that. Good. And then we're going to fix this by deleting all this. Good. Ah, we haven't imported the header for the wasm type, so I'm just going to do that now. Right. I know what's going on here. I'm really used to writing JavaScript, so I'll do something like this, right? And if you do, like, say, that, it'll actually grab the package called hello. Whereas if you want the local JavaScript file called hello, you have to do that. Now, I'm carrying that over into C for some reason, but you don't need to put a dot. You just type the name of the file you want. All right, that's happier. So in the list component, we are now going to specify an alignment here. I don't think there'll ever be any reason to change the alignment once one's created, because while you might say attach it to someone's head and their head will move, you're never going to want to like move it to the side halfway through, like, an animation. That wouldn't make any sense. So Is all this stuff in here still about fonts? Yes, it is. Let's get rid of that. Yes, remove all mention of text in here. This is no longer text specific. And that's good. Okay. Ah! Okay, what have I written in here for alignment? That's simple enough. So next up, we're going to want to... Oh, I actually need to replace these. Now, today I'm unlikely to get everything implemented and put back in, but we should at least be able to get like back to where we were. I mean definition not found. Oh, you mean I've never implemented it? Okay, I was like, this is a declaration, but definition, not declaration. Yeah, I like to really specify when something is changeable versus not changeable. Right, okay. Let's bring in those alignments. And let's also fix everything which is broken in here, which is a lot of things. We're also going to need that in the C file. Down here we should have, yeah, here we go. Basically all references to alignments need a little bit of a tweak here and there now because they're no longer font specific. I don't know why I made them font specific in the first place, a bit weird. And I might add a helper method to the list component so you can position it relative to an object in the scene, but I shouldn't need anything more than that. Okay, that's looking healthier. Let's just split this out over lines as well, it's pretty long. Okay. Now I'm actually just going to commit the font and the alignment changes right now because they're kind of like in a discrete block. And I guess we start working through the errors, really. There's going to be a few. Now, I'm actually going to throw this entire file out. Because we're changing how it works so dramatically that it's no longer really even going to be the same thing. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll leave these as kind of top, bottom, left, right. And I'm going to have separate left and right and vertical borders. Yeah. Okay, that should do the trick. Now, let's make this work again, shall we? It's so deceptive because this is going to be so few functions, but they're going to be quite difficult to implement. Okay. Oh yeah, this doesn't actually return. It definitely should. Yeah, so I documented the return, but I never actually added this. Yeah, okay, good. And then here, again, empty function. So, and then we're going to start bringing things back in one by one. So if I go to dollar component, had this search in here, I'm going to bring that back in. Of course, all of these now need to be lists, not dialog. And we need to reinstate the list of component IDs. Okay, that's the start. And then I think what I was doing, because like I don't really have these in kind of like any sort of looking at the wrong file. This doesn't have to be a dense array. It means we're just basically looking for an empty slot and filling it. So that's going to be pretty much the same. It's going to be a copied line after as well. And then I'm just going to return out or throw if we can't find an empty slot. Okay. Again, dialog to list, dialog to list. Okay. This is now an image component. This is now a list component. All looking good. Are we actually using the bool anymore? I don't. Hang on. Are we using true? No. Why did they ever bring that in? It's on record somewhere. I wish there was a neat way to like delete imports that you're not using. That'd be really cool. Okay, so we need the destructor. The destructor is going to be basically identical. But it is actually going to change. The reason is we're going to have a list of options and we need to go through and clean up all the options. How am I going to make this work from a... So, well, I don't think I was just kind of like musing over internally is obviously you have this dividing line, right? The question is, which component does that belong to? Does it belong to the one above the line or the one below the line? Now, what I was thinking was, if it belonged to the one above the line, that would mean that each component was only responsible for everything below the bit above it, which actually makes a lot of sense when you think about, like, say, you know, how this component nestles below this one. But that means you'd have the topmost component would be missing a line across the top. And I'm like, what do I do about that? Now, I've got a couple of options. One is that I could... right, one option is that I could... Hang on. The gears are turning very slowly. I could make it so that the top option just is an extra pixel taller for, you know, the sake of making it look right. I could make it so that kind of like header components are a pixel taller. It would mean that, say, if you had a header below, like you'd have like a weird kind of like double height section. Wouldn't be the end of the world, I don't think. Or I could make it so the dialogue itself draws a single 1 pixel tall line at the top. I'm actually thinking about making it so the header just has a double top. I mean, wouldn't be fantastic, but that doesn't actually look half bad. Like, you know, having like a slight double height there. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Bridges and when you come to them, I guess. Okay, so we're no longer have an image component directly under this. So next up. So I'm going to actually have multiple cases in this where I need to go through every single image component attached to a dialogue and adjust all of them. I'm just going to put something in the comment here. Because kind of the complexity here is that, of course, we're returning an image component, but it's one that's meant to be controlled by the list component. Maybe I don't return the image component. I was just thinking about, like, when it comes to adding an item to a list, why would you want to return the image component that it created? And the only reason I can really think of is that you wanted to say adjust it, you wanted to reposition it, delete it, whatever. But, bear with me here. If you did any of that, you break the list. You know, if we were doing a kind of hack where we're making the top one a pixel taller, well then, and you deleted the top row, then the second row wouldn't know to add the extra pixel. It wouldn't know to shuffle all of the rows down. I'll just not return it. I can't think of any reason. You know, the only thing I can really think of is that you might want to compare it against this component ID. I think the chances of that are pretty slim, honestly. So yeah, let's make our list of component IDs here. List components. Item component IDs. Item image component IDs. These are getting pretty long. Now we don't have to initialize that, but I am going to initialize the kind of like, because we're basically going to be linking items to lists here. So we need I am going to have some really long lists, so I kind of want them coming out of one pool rather than, like, say, having, I don't know, 100 items just lying around per list. Yeah, so basically going to have a list of the component IDs. Those are initialized to none so that we know, you know, that they're free slots. Those are going to link to the actual lists. And then at the same indices, we're going to have them linking to the images that they're backed by. Okay, that will do. So when we delete, we actually need to go through all of the items, and then if any of them match the component which is deleted, we need to delete that component, and then also reset the we need to reset sorry. We then need to reset the component ID to none, so we know that we can reuse it later on. Oh yeah, and this is, let's change this to list rather than dialogue. Have I failed to change one of these down here? Yes, I have. All right, okay. So we have item index, okay. And we have... Do we have a list of maximum items? There we go. Yes, I actually used the wrong constant here. I'm going to have multiple implementations of this thing where it goes through and finds all the items. I don't think it's really avoidable. Not really. And it's only a for loop, it should be fine. So yeah, we're going through the list of items, and if the item we're currently looking at is connected to the list we've just destroyed, then in turn destroy that. And set its component ID to none. That should be simple enough. Easy, easy. Okay. So next up, I guess it's adding an item. So just having a bit of a think on this. Yeah, we need to scan through the list, and I'm going to bring in the bool header because I'm about to use one. Look out, everyone, he's using Boolean algebra. So we're going to scan through the list of items, and we're going to try and find an empty slot for our components. And if we find any existing components in the list, we know that we're not the first one, so we don't add that additional pixel border across the top. I also need to, ideas keep popping into my head. I also need to record the heights of the, I need to record the heights of each row so I can, if I'm moving the dialogue, I can keep it positioned correctly. I'll make it signed. I'm probably going to move away from using unsigned for anything except colors. So we want to move through our list of items. And then if the list component ID, if we've found our component, then we know that I'm going to do this as a switch statement. Why not? Right, switch on it. If it's the component ID, then we know this isn't the first one in the list. Wait, can you only do... Yeah, okay, you can only do switch on constants in C. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so if we find the another item of the same list in the menu, we know that we're not the first. Oh, but hang on. There is an edge case here. Right. This is a rare edge case, but this would break. So let's say that you had like 4 item slots, right? And you had... Okay, this is a rare edge case. Let's say you had... Let's say that you added 2 items to list A. You had a single item for list B, and then afterwards, later on, you added an extra list item to list A. You then delete list A. You then add another list item to list B. The second item actually ends up after the first in the list. Ha! Didn't really think about that. But that does kind of mess everything up. Okay, so... Right. It's a rare thing, but it's possible. So rather than storing the height of each item, we need to store where the bottom is. And then we actually need to make 2 passes through this list. The first pass is to, we need to make the first pass just to scan what's already there and see if there's any existing components, and if so, where the bottom of the lowest one is. So top rows, and it's going to be the greatest of top rows, and okay. We can also get rid of this first because it should never be 0. You should never have a row that's exactly 0 pixels high. That would make no sense. Right, and now we've got that information, we now scan through and we find the first empty slot. Found the first empty slot, and now we're going to put our new item into it. And now we need to actually link everything up. We need to measure the text, we need to apply all the paddings and the borders. We should be good, we should be good to go. So I think, is there any reason I wouldn't just put this straight into the array? Not really. And create an image component, and oh, do we actually have a record of which entities we've attached each list component to? Oh, hang on. Yeah, I forgot how this worked for a second. We're not attaching it directly to an entity, so we're attaching it to a component. Therefore, the component is responsible for the destruction, not the entity. So we can get rid of that. We have a callback here, and we're going to grab an image out of, we're going to have like a pool of images again, and for the top rows and left columns, we need to grab the position of the list and then, yeah, I kind of apply our offsets. So let's, in here, this component index equals find index. Get index by component ID. There we go. So now we have, now we know which, where in the list we're kind of like grabbing that from. So now we can get the position of the dialogue, which I don't think I'm currently recording. Do I record it when I create? Do I record it? I don't. I really should be. And we don't need to specify initial value for that. We'll be overwriting it when we create. Okay. And then using those indices, we can then position our image to match. So it's this top rows, this component index, plus top rows. So yeah, we want to add a bit of extra So yeah, so we're taking the top of our list component and then we're adding the height of whatever items came before us. We do the same for the left column. This is going to be wrong for a while, just haven't got around to doing it yet. And then we exit. We're not returning anything, but we're exiting. So next up, we need to actually do all of the calculations on and actually draw the object. So I might also add to here a thinking about the best way to do this. I might just make it so you can pass in a background color, because that's the only real difference between, like, say, a text field and a header field is, you know, like, it's kind of effectively, oh, it has different padding. Yeah, I'll make it so you specify, like, whether it's a heading or not. Might come back to that later on and make it so you can put a type in there or something, so you can, I don't know, make checkboxes or whatever, but for now this will do. Okay, nice and simple. Now, we're about an hour in, but we're on a pretty good roll here, and I do have time to do more, so I think I'm going to keep going. Also, this is a really long album, so... Okay, so we've added this to here, we can bring this into here. Now, we do have in here, we don't actually have any vertical padding on this, do we? No. Right. So there's a few cases to consider here. So if we have top rows greater than 0, we need to draw a top line. Otherwise we don't. And we have different amounts of padding for... Yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here. So there's no vertical padding at all in the header row, because this line is drawn as a special case, and this line is drawn as part of this. No, hang on. No, I'm wrong. It's the bottom line that's drawn by the component. So, yeah. Yeah, it still has no padding. It needs to know to draw that line at the bottom. So let's calculate our heights. So yeah, the width is going to be the same regardless. It's going to be like the text width added with the padding added, and then the border widths. So let's work this out. So it's going to be the left border thickness plus the left padding plus... Oh, it's just occurred to me, I need to redraw all of the previous items whenever you resize one like this. Because you could change the width of all of them. Okay, we can deal with it. We can figure it out. I'll just put a to do in there so I forget to do anything about it. So we can actually figure out the total columns right off the bat, because we don't need to know anything about the previous rows to do that. And in fact, I'm going to put this up here because we'll store the width of the dialog, I don't know, somewhere. And then we'll be able to do the comparison here, and then we'll be able to do the resize in this loop while we're fetching this, to save a loop effectively. Right, so it's the left border thickness plus the padding columns plus the number of columns in the font plus the right padding plus the thickness. Yeah, and I don't like the fact it put all that on one line. It didn't ask it to do that. Very rude. Stop doing that. Put that multiple lines for a reason. The reason might be that I'm stupid, but I did it for a reason. Whatever, you win, see. Well, you win Visual Studio Code and whatever code linter you're using. All right. This is going to get real complicated, but we'll figure it out. I just need to record whether these are headers, so when I resize them, I resize them correctly. That's kind of annoying, but it'll be okay. Right. What's happening next? I need to calculate the height of this, given what we know about it. Again, I can do that before knowing anything else. So it's going to be the top. Hang on. No, I can't. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I need to know more information before I can. Just occurs to me, I need to know more information before I could actually fully calculate the height. So we need to know whether it's the first row or not. So if it isn't the first row, then don't add a pixel for it. Otherwise, add the. Yeah, there we go. And then if it's a heading, don't add any padding. Otherwise, add the top and bottom padding. And then hang on, racking the old brains. Here we go. The height of the font, yeah. And total rows. So we now need to do a check here if the total columns is maximum columns. Now, one of the really awkward things about changing the width of an image is that I don't store the pixel pitch anywhere, meaning that all of the rows are going to misalign. Oh no. Oh no. That's not good. Oh no. Okay, let's store the widths of each list. And we're going to have to initialize that to 0, otherwise we'll start off with all sorts of weird and wacky numbers in there. Well, actually no, because it's global, but like, yeah, they won't be cleared when you make a new list is what I mean. Okay. Next up, let's actually allocate some memory for our pixels. So this component item image colors. So much like we've done several times with this, we keep moving this code around. So the maximum number of items multiplied by their maximum rows, multiplied their maximum columns. And then we actually need to store some images, so they're basically going to index into that. The question is, do I add a pitch to an image? I think I might just do that. It would make things a lot simpler. It's not that much additional memory. It's gonna be a lot easier than writing some code to patch the whips around. And some platforms might even require, although I'm trying to avoid anything platform specific in this code base. Okay. All right, okay. It means undefined, isn't it? Right there. Oh no. Didn't name it correctly. Oops. Okay, so we have our image. We set the colors for it. Next up, we need to set the width in columns. It's going to be total columns, and the rows is going to be the total rows. And now we fill in the contents. So if it's a header, I'm just going to have a totally separate code base code path for both because they're going to get really complicated anyway. Yeah, these are going to end up being like just 4 discrete paths. Not ideal, but Sorry, heading, isn't it? Yeah, heading. Right, 4 completely discrete code paths. Not great. Not a huge fan of that, but it'll do, I guess. So if it's not a heading, and we have a number of total rows, then draw the left border, draw the right border, draw the bottom border, fill it in black, layer the text on top. So draw a rectangle, and it's to our image. So we're going to do the left border first of all. So that's right up against the top, and it's going to be the same height as the image, pretty much. And it's going to be on the left edge, and it's going to be the same number of pixels as the left border thickness. I've just realized I've named these incorrectly. Lost the chaos unfold, and I've renamed something used everywhere. And then we need to fill it in with the border color. Nice and easy. That's the left edge. Now we do the right edge, which is going to be the positions at the total columns. Take 1. Now take the width of the border, obviously. Not 1, the width of the border. And then we're going to fill in the middle. So it's going to be positioned at the... Hang on. I'm starting to slow down. The tiredness is starting to hit. Yeah, so we're positioning it after the left border, and it's the width for the whole thing, minus the right border, minus the left border. Let's go with the background color, and then we're going to layer our text on top of it. So it's going to be aligned to the top. It's going to be aligned to the left. And in terms of row offset, it's going to be the top padding. And in terms of column offset, it's going to be the left border thickness plus the left padding. Do we need to specify anything else? We need to specify which image we're drawing it to. Okay, that's one of the cases solved. Next up, we need to deal with what happens if we're placing text right at the top. This could happen, say, if you have a menu, it doesn't have a header. In which case, these two remain the same, but then we're going to have an extra line in here that... Oh, I've just spotted the bug, actually. That's something I've done wrong. I'm positioning the rectangle at the bottom of the image, not the bottom of the image, take away the thickness. And for some reason... Wait, have I done this right? Hang on a second, I've gotten confused. I'm just going to get rid of that and just reread this properly. So, this is the left border, right? It's at the top. Right border. And then this... Aha! Yeah, I didn't draw the bottom border. That was my mistake here. There we go. That's why I got confused. And, oops, no, don't do that. No. We're going to grab all of this. We're pretty much going to do it one for one, except we're going to remove the top border and then take the top border out of consideration everywhere. So, left, right border. Hang on, we need to add a top border. Oh my god, my brain is melting. So we have the bottom border, we have the body, and then we have the top. So top border. Yeah, I'm gonna have to test these. There's no way I'm gonna be able to just like guess these and have them come out right. Right, that should be okay. Now the heading should be very similar. No, actually it's going to be completely different now that I think about it. Because the whole thing is just going to be, you know, it doesn't really have a visible border. Instead, the whole thing is shaded in with the border color. So it's just going to be a single rectangle covering the whole thing. That actually is kind of nice. And then we just layer the text on top and get rid of any padding. We keep the left padding though, we just get rid of the top padding. And the only difference with the, when it's the first heading, is that we need to shuffle it down by, we need to shuffle the text down by the height of the top border. Okay, let's have a look at our errors here. Yep, that's because I renamed these. These aren't real errors, it's just I'm using some syntax that's too new for the IDE to understand. Right border should be columns, never rows. All right, okay. Should we see what happens? It's going to look a bit strange for the moment because we're currently making no effort to resize previous items, so there'll be all sorts of weird and wonderful sizes. It might work. And we're going to temporarily dummy this out because we just want to get this building and see if we can, well, see how it looks. It will probably flag up that, yeah, I've basically used none of these. Okay, do I have the list of left and top rows? Yes, I do, but I'm not actually setting them here. And I should probably also store the alignments if I'm not doing that already. Yeah, I'm not doing that already. I'm going to top columns, left columns. List component, vertical alignment. Oh yeah, I also need to reposition all of the lines, not just resize them. Because if it's vertically aligned and you yeah, if it's vertically aligned, you move the and you add a line to the dialogue, it shifts the whole thing up, right? And also, if it's like centered or right aligned, it's only the vertical axis that needs to be recalculated, but we do need to recalculate it. Now, if I really, really wanted to kind of, memory kind of micro optimize, I could actually make both of these go together because it seems like you always use them together, but I'm not going to do that today. Yeah, to do this doesn't take into account alignment of the list. And same goes for, yeah. Ah! Right, so somewhere I know I haven't updated this in here. This will still be looking at the image overlay, whereas we're now using an image component. What do you mean it's undefined? It's right there. And next thing is, of course, the actual script. This needs adjusting because now we're going to be bringing in list components, not dialogue components. So anywhere in here we're mentioning dialogue. Yep, I was like, is that gonna compile for a second? Will the rename feature work? It actually did. My God. So yes, we're going to create a list component, and in here we instead have the and let's just position it somewhere nicely on screen, somewhere that'll do. And then let's temporarily get rid of that. And let's also include the alignments explicitly. All right, let's see what happens. Come on, hurt me plenty. Oh, it didn't compile successfully. Where's the error? Image overlay layer. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I deleted the word component rather than overlay. My bad. Okay, the game actually built. Let's see what happens. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm actually going to move that call much earlier so I don't have to wait for it. Oh, it's frozen. It's frozen. I've probably got an infinite loop somewhere. So let's... yeah, I'm going to go into here and I'm just going to move that script up a bit more just so that it... that. And let's just move it slightly further up. Oh, I've made a list, but I never actually attached anything to it. So let's do it right at the start. And yeah, that should do. And yeah, let's give that a go, see what happens. The answer is it's probably still going to crash. Oh my god! It didn't crash! What? I mean, it's wrong, but it didn't crash. Is that even legal for it not to crash? So, it looks like we have a bug at the moment when we have the first item in the list is, is not a header. So that's misaligns that entire sort of like thing there. I'm going to say, for a C code base, this isn't just like hard crashing very often. So it's going to be this block here. So what are we doing? So we're drawing the left border, drawing the right border, and then what are we drawing here? Oh, I've got this the wrong way around. Just double checking here. Yep, so we're filling in the top row. And then, yeah, that's good. And again, I used the wrong... It's the wrong thing. And then we've got the... Where's the background? Oh, that's the background color. Right, so... Top border thickness. Okay. That should be simple enough. That's the bottom, isn't it? Yeah, that's the bottom. Okay, let's see if we can find these issues somewhere else. So that's the background color. It should be the bottom border, not the padding. And same goes for you. Let's see what that does. All right, that's closer, although we don't currently have a top border, which is strange. Okay, let's try discarding all of the code that fills in the background. It might just be that it's not correctly drawing the background. That didn't change anything. Does this think for some reason that there is a... Does this think for some reason that there's an item above it? Because it shouldn't. What's this? Oh, I'll just void that off. It's saying that I haven't used that, which is true, but whatever. I'm not reassigning top rows anymore. Oh, hang on. Again, I used the wrong variable. I used total rows. So if it has a height, and it's like, that doesn't indicate whether it's the first one or not. Top rows does. And I'm also not currently assigning this, so I'm just going to do that down here. Okay, this should draw us a nice header bar along top of it. It did, but I think it might not be taking the header bar into account. That is probably because I probably made the exact same mistake up here. Yeah, there it is. Oops. Wait, if there's top rows... I had it the wrong way around. Yeah, that had it leaving space for the top border if you weren't going to have one, and vice versa. Oh no, that's very wrong. Hang on, so if there is a top row, so that's fine. And then if it is a heading, don't leave any space. Otherwise, leave top and bottom padding. Ah, but we also need the border thickness. Give that a go. Let's see how that shakes out. Okay, that looks vaguely correct, doesn't it? Best kind of correct. Next up, let's try. Let's go to the script. Let's make it a header. Where's the line where I'm adding this? There it is. Yeah, you are now a heading. Rejoice, for you are now more important than the text around you. Okay, that looks vaguely correct. So let's try adding another line. And this one is not going to be a header. Yay, my favorite. Damn it. I keep saying I'm going to delete that keyboard shortcut. I never do. But yeah, list item has too many columns. It's just too wide. So let's just make it narrower and build again. I wish I could make this kind of thing compile time safe, but there's just no way to do it, really, practically speaking. Still too many columns? All right, let's get rid of that one. I wonder if I have some kind of other bug here. Let's just try one letter. That can't possibly overflow, right? Okay, that's gone to the wrong place. Now, I think I know what's happened there. Did I make this reset the font when it's done? No, I didn't. Where's the return? Okay, that's a bit closer. Of course, we have an issue at the moment where it seems to be just putting it in the corner. I suspect maybe it's not successfully... because it's still got a bar across the top implying it thinks it's the first in the list, and it's positioned at the top also implying it's the first in the list. I think what's happening here is that I am not setting the component ID, am I? Hang on. What did I call the array for this? It was list component item list. So list component item list. There it is. And that will now link our new item back to the list we just made. It's supposed to. Doesn't appear to be. So next up we need to have a look at this. That was our issue. We're looking in the wrong place. Let's check the destructor. Are we making the same mistake there? No. Hey! How's that? Now, of course, it's the wrong width because, I'm not currently doing anything with like the width of the list. But we should be able to put our meme dialogue back in. It's going to look a bit weird. But we like weird around here. Okay. All right. Man, this font is not great. Whoa! What the heck? Crashing this. Clicking the screen crashes the game, what? Okay, I'm gonna have to figure that one out some other time, but this is starting to look like it works. Let's try putting a heading between these two lines. Okay, that doesn't quite look great, but I know exactly why it doesn't look great, and that's because the top bar of this is meant to be coming off the item above, and the item above isn't resizing. I bet if I just made this shorter, it would look less weird. Come on. There we go. Yep, that looks less weird. Right. So next step, I need to, when iterating through this list, where's the bit where I iterate for the list? It is here. I need to unconst this, and I need to widen our list item if it finds a wider one in the list. Let's grab the image out. We are going to be using it later on, so why not? And then we can get the width of the previous item from here. Let's grab the image first of all, and then the columns, isn't it? Yeah. I'm actually bringing the math header here. Just want to make sure I am before I keep using it. No, I'm not. I'll bring it in. Wonder what was bringing it in. Anyway, see what that does. Oh, it didn't like that. Didn't like that. Do I just make this signed? I think I do. I'm just tired of dealing with issues with this. Okay, that didn't do anything. I wonder why. So we're setting the columns based on the larger of the two. So it should be expanding all the subsequent... Oh, unless there was an error and I just didn't see it. Yeah, there are probably many errors in here. Let's make these signed. I have grown to detest unsigned integers. They just make all the maths so much harder. Okay, well, what's next? What's next? That's fine. Yeah, I never really understood why so many C programs used signed integers basically everywhere. But now I've actually used them a bit. I'm a bit like, man, they're really annoying. Unsigned are. They're just like the fact that quite often basic mathematics underflow and things like that. If you try to make something bulletproof and like test it all over, probably pretty good. Otherwise, just annoying. There we go. So that has fixed what happens when you're making shorter lines after a long line. Next up, I need to fix that crash at some point. I'm going to see what happens if I make one wider. So let's go into our test script and that might exceed the maximum width of a line. Let's find out. Yep, that's too wide. Yeah, so as you can see, it's not currently widening all of the previous things. So this should actually be pretty simple to do. I don't even need to check if it's the first row or not when it comes to resizing, because all I actually need to check is whether it's a header or not. Because we're basically going to be taking the whole right side, which is always going to be just a purple border, and just pushing it all the way to the edge. And if it's a header... No, actually, I will check if it's a header, just so I know not to bother, kind of like... So, yeah. If it's a header, I just basically like extend this purple all the way to the edge of the new image. And if it's not a header, I extend the background as well. The complexity, though, is that it's going to change the width of the lines. So in memory, the pixels for this line immediately follow the line before it. And of course, if I widen the line, that means the actual positions of each start of line in memory need to change. So I guess I could add a helper to the image type to change the width of an image. Do I go on like a rampage and destroy all unsigned logic first though? I would like to. I've really grown to detest it quite strongly, but there's a lot in here. Yeah, I'll leave it where I went to. That's a bit vague, but it'll do. So next up, we need to add that function I was just talking about to the image. So yeah, this is going to be a bit hard to describe in kind of like a comment, but so you need to already have the memory there for it. So it won't change the amount of memory available for colors or populate. Hang on, will not change the size of the colors or depth or populate any of the new pixels. Will only adjust the pitch. Now, actually specify how many columns you're resizing to. That'd be a good idea. And let's put a doc comment in there for that. All right. So now we need to compare the number of columns to the previous number of columns. So right, this is where it gets a bit complicated. So if we've not changed the number of columns, then we don't do anything. However, for now, I'm only going to implement sizing up. Do we have the error helper in here? I don't think we actually do. No, I'm just going to bring it in. just for this. It's just more to sort of develop and test, we're not actively using. Right, so we actually need to run from the bottom row to the top and then shuffle the data along for each row. So and we need to grab the colors and the depths. So changing the column counts of images with depth is not implemented. So I'm just going for the minimum viable here to make this work. So one of the things about doing things in a minimally viable way, right, is that your API is the thing that you're actually using to build other things shouldn't be minimal. So this call syntax, that's exactly everything I want. The implementation can be minimal though. So for example, this triangle rasterizer, it's honestly terrible. I do plan on rewriting it at some point after after Halloween. But the API that feeds into it, almost certainly final, very unlikely to change. That means that all of the code that relies on this, none of it should break when I actually rewrite it. Anyway. So we're going in reverse order, so we're about the top, and we're going to copy just having a think, and yes, it does hurt. We'd figure out a source and destination column, and I think we actually need to go from end to start there as well. Yes. So the source is going to be based on the row multiplied by the colors, the current row multiplied by the previous number of columns. Oh, we also need to update the image as well to specify its columns number as the new number. Just before I forget to do that. Okay, so yeah, the row multiplied the number of columns is the source start, and the end is going to be the previous columns here. And the destination is going to be almost exactly the same, but we're going to be using the new rather than the old numbers of columns. Okay. We're going to do some pointer arithmetic. Isn't everyone excited? So we actually need the end of there as well. And we can probably use this as an iterator instead. Oh, but we need to start to figure out where the end is. Okay, so one of the weird things about pointer arithmetic in C is that I would expect that to offset by a byte, but it actually offsets by the type of the pointer. So it's actually moving a whole color each time. So 4 bytes. And we also want to decrement the source over here, and then we just copy the destination from the source. That easy. Now, we're not actually calling into that function at the moment, which is going to make it, hard to test whether it works or not. Yeah, so let's just do the resize here. Well, we are checking for bounds here. I want to skip the whole redraw of the sidebar if we can help it. Change columns. Do we actually bring the image header into here? And if so, why? We do now. So there's our image, and there's our title columns. This will cause some visual corruption for the moment. Oh, what's happening there? I know why that's happening. Let me just make that again. Yeah, it does not look like we've got a const on there. And this is also a const, we can drop that off there if we're going to be modifying it. Yeah, normally it's fine because we'd then be modifying the colors, but in this case we actually need to be able to modify the image itself. Build. All right. Yeah, that's broken everything in a way I wasn't quite expecting. And I know exactly why that's happened. Because I'm moving backwards from the right pixel to the left, I'm actually copying the wrong pixels. Okay, this is still fixable. This is still fixable. I just need to change the destination to take the altered source into account. But yeah, this is the kind of corruption I was expecting down the side. Just, like pixels being revealed that shouldn't be there. It's probably actually running off the beginning of the array, which isn't great. So I'm going to grab the source, which is going to be... Hang on. Right, I actually only want to copy the previous columns. Yeah. And the destination is going to be that might work. Let's have a look. Okay, there we go. So now the images have been resized. This is the kind of corruption I was expecting down the side. And now I just need to actually adjust the content of the images so that we're no longer exposing basically uninitialized data down the edge. So let's go through to our list component. Do we have any other to-dos in here? Oh yeah, moving the items around. Anyway. What are we doing? We need to check if it's a header. So do we currently record whether these are headers? No, we don't. Let's record whether they're a header down here. And sorry, heading. Oh my god. See, like the complete failed that time for some reason. Not entirely sure why. Maybe because there's an error further up the file. Or maybe because it doesn't understand the syntax. It doesn't know how to parse the file as a result. And that should actually be headings. So now we can use that information to redraw the right edge. So if it's a heading, then extend the text all the way out. Otherwise, just do that bit. All right, okay. Thinking, yes, it hurts. Ow. Let's get the width out once actually. So we're going to need that information to be able to resize the gap anyway. Okay, so if it is a heading, then all we need to do is fill it in with a single rectangle. So we're going to be drawing it to our image. It's going to be at the top. It's going to be using the same height as the. We're not storing the heights anywhere. I need to redesign this bit. Come on, we can finish this today. We can get this done. Not long left to go. Right, and then we're using the total rows to get that right. And then left columns is going to be the original number of columns. And then the number of columns is going to be the total columns to take away the columns. And then we're going to use the border color to fill in that space. And then when it comes to the non-header rows, they're a bit more complicated. So for the top, we need to go for the top border thickness. And then for the bottom, we need to do the same. Except, yeah, we need to go for the total rows, take that. So we're basically putting that, putting the border along the bottom, and then we need to fill the gap in between with a background piece that kind of fills the gap between top and bottom. So it's the same height as the other row, but we subtract the height of the top and bottom rows. So top and bottom borders. And start from the same place. Except we're skipping the right border. And this should be the background color. And then we just need to add our right border as well. And we should be nearly done. So almost there. Oh, okay, what's going on here? Yeah, I didn't update the code that actually stored any of this stuff. Almost done. Come on. Live, breathe, do it. Oh, not quite, not quite. Almost, but not quite. No cigar, as they say. And then I crashed the game. All right, okay. We're so close to having this working. Let's try and figure out what we've done wrong. So we are definitely resizing it first. That's good. And we're definitely applying the new width because it's being shown. So our heading's okay. Our headings look okay. It might just be a problem with the content. So let's see here. Let's clear the whole thing. A color that clearly contrasts, so we can see exactly what pixels we're overwriting here. So yeah, that kind of looks like Problem number one is I'm not taking whether it's the first row into account, because it should only be putting a top border on if it's the top row and it's not. So I might also add a second to our kind of like introduction script. I'm just going to add a second list component and then just use that to verify that non-headers at the top resize correctly. And we can put that, say, 100 pixels down, that'll do. Okay, so that's kind of weird. Why is that like all the way over there? And that one isn't. What the heck is going on here? A disaster of my own creation is the answer. Just run off the end of the album, so I'm just going to play something else. I'm determined to get this list component kind of like at least like looking right today. Clicking, interactive, whatever, that's for another time. But looking correct, that's today's mission. So, sticking on Jake Bowen, who was actually the guitarist from Periphery, but he did this kind of electronica album that's really good called Isometric. You'd never think a guitarist in a band like Periphery could write an electronica album like that. Right, so the problem is the right border is being mispositioned. Let's have a look. So we're after a thing that's the same width as the right border, which is this one. So, yeah, because the distance between there and there is the distance between there and there. So it's actually misapplying some math there. Okay, that looks nicer straight away. Next thing we just need to do is we need to add a bit of an adjustment to this. So that's the bottom border. It's going to be the same whether or not we are a header row. So item top rows. So if it, I'm just going to copy all of this and so this here, we need to get rid of this top border, easy job. And then we need to get rid of these two. So now that will actually draw the new background and right border right up to the top. Hey, it's looking pretty close. I know what's gone wrong here. Let me just extend this out a bit. Because, there we go. So what's actually happened here, right, is that it's only shading in the pixels. It's extended the border by. Whereas what it should be doing is also extending the pixels that were previously on the border. So that only applies to the background though. Yeah, that only applies to the background. So if I go find the background and yeah, I need to actually take that off there and put it there instead. And let's do the same with the background down here. Right, this should fix our issue. And there we go. Beautiful. Now, if I had any other alignment type on this dialog box, it would not be working, but that is a huge improvement. I'm going to leave it there for today as we've hit 2 hours and I need to stop before I have a, I don't know, a seizure or something. Too many hours staring at screens. I'm starting to feel it. Thank you very much for watching and have a great Saturday. I'll be picking us back up tomorrow where I'll probably finish this list box component and start looking at things like making the items clickable. Have a great time.